Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call the City Council for August 18, 2008 to order. As always, first thing on the agenda is always the roll call and determination of the quorum. If Heidi could, if you'd read the roll call, please.
Here.
Here. Kroger. Here. Hurlbut. Hadcock. Here. LaCroix. Martinson. Yes. Weifenbach. Okrepke. Here. Chapman. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Heidi. Next thing on the agenda, as always, is our invocation. Before we do, I have Pastor Bob Rudabush give our invocation. I'd just like to acknowledge the loss of someone that an awful lot of us knew for a number of years, and that's Larry Dirksen from KOTA. He was a friend to all of us, always with a smile on his face, and absolutely loved what he did. He loved our community. So, Pastor Bob, if you could come up and let's proceed that with just a moment of silence. If everyone could please stand for the invocation, the moment of silence, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh God, we thank you for the wonderful gift of living in Rapid City. Tonight we pray that as our mayor and council discusses the business of our city, that you would guide their work. Help us all to recognize the best ways we can care for the needs and aspirations of our city. Forgive us for the times we failed to truly live as you would have us live, and so we ask you to help us be the light that shines truth, integrity, and trust in the ways that we lead and live in our community together. Bless us all. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Pastor Bob Rudabush. He's from the Canyon Lake United Methodist Church. I think I've known you, about 20 years now? Yeah, very good. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda, as always, is the adoption of the agenda. I do have a note here. We do need to remove item 51 and 52 from the agenda because they are duplicated as items 79 and 80. Any other additions or other comments as far as the agenda? If so, please turn on your light. Any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, the chair would look for a motion to adopt the agenda with the exception of the removal of item 51 and 52, please.
Second.
We have a motion and second for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the August 4th, 2008 City Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're on to awards and recognitions. Matthew, if I could have you join me up front here for our Veterans of the Month recognition. There we go. Let me turn that up a little bit. Let me tell you a little bit about Matthew. Let's start by saying, in partnership with the Veterans Coordination Commission, we are pleased to present the August 2008 Veteran of the Month recognition to Matthew Bergendahl. Yes. Did I get it right? Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about Matthew. He entered the Air Force in 1999. He served until 2005. After basic training and security force schooling, he was stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base before being deployed to Kuwait. Upon deployment to Saudi Arabia in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in September of 2001, he performed flight duties, anti-terrorism support, and vehicle maintenance. And then upon his return home, was it 2003? Around about 2003, Matthew was then deployed again to Oman to perform flight duties, including vehicle search. He was then forward deployed to Qatar as a vehicle search leader until he was forward deployed again to Iraq You were a popular guy back then, weren't you? Performing base defense, anti-terrorism, and general flight duties until returning back home in July of 2003. Matthew has been decorated with many honors, including the OEF, which was Operation Enduring Freedom, and also the Operation Iraqi Freedom Medal, also the Global War and Terrorism Medal, the Airman Achievement Medal, the Air Force Good Conduct Medal, the Small Arms Expert Medal, and the Outstanding Unit Award with Valor. Matthew is a Rapid City resident. He's married with 2 kids. He is currently enrolled as a full-time student in Western Dakota VOTEC. He serves a work participation program at the Rapid City Vet Center, serving 20 hours a week. Matthew is an outstanding war veteran and continues to serve those individuals who have served and continue to serve our country. His service to our nation and to our veterans reflect on his great credit upon him, and also to the United States Air Force in the Rapid City Vet Center. On behalf of the City of Rapid City, thank you for your service and your dedication, Matthew. Thank you. Come up here and say a few words.
Well, first and foremost, none of this is possible without the support of my friends and family. I would often say that the VA was work, but generally I'm working with basically friends. There's no doubt about it, the support that I've received throughout the year and some months after I've been working there. I don't view you guys as co-workers or anything like that. I view you guys as friends, and I appreciate your hard work. I also appreciate my wife helping me out with studying. There's been some long nights where I've been put in 4 or 5 hours studying for a final or something like that, and she knows, she's giving me my space and time to try and hammer it out. And that's about it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Why don't we come out here and let's take a couple pictures. Did you invite your wife up for a picture? Sure. Come on up. Why don't you stand right next to him outside? Got it, John. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Chief? Art, come on, come up. Where's Tim? Is Scopus here? Where's Tim? I guess we'll do that next week. Very good. We have a number of employee recognitions for service. How about Kane Messer? I don't see. Is Kane here? I went to school with Kane and I don't see him. Okay. Boy, it's going very quick. I know Jerry's here. Mr. Wright, come join us, please. And Robert, will you come up and share a few words? Jerry Wright is the superintendent out at our landfill and our recycling center. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it says 20 on here, but it's actually 21?
That's right.
Because you were deployed.
I was in Kuwait when I hit my 20th anniversary.
Very good. One of these days, we're going to have to give you one of those honors, too. Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about Jerry?
Well, I've had the fortune of working with Jerry as he's been division manager for solid waste, and it's been my pleasure working with Jerry. We've had some positive things that have happened, and I appreciate Jerry's positive attitude. It really shows through in all of your employees, and I think that you do an excellent job running that facility. And for those of you who aren't aware of it, our recycling facility is probably one of the premier recycling facilities in the world, and Jerry has a large part, deserves a large part of that responsibility for getting that here in town. So I appreciate, Jerry, everything that you've done out at the solid waste facility, and I hope to see you for another 20 years.
No problem. Look at Jerry. I know you're not shy. You get up here and say a few words.
Thanks to the vets also. I wasn't eligible to the VFW till I was 60 years old. I was deployed at age 59. Thank you, sir, and it's been a privilege to serve 20-plus years with the city of Rapid City. Another 20 looks good. I I didn't have any gray hair when I came to work here, but I think it's all in the DNA, no stress. And it's been a great time, a great ride. I know there's been fires and floods and stuff like that to deal with, and helping snowstorms and all that, but I think the greatest privilege I've had is to work for the city of Rapid City, a great employer, and I'm not just saying, I'm so close to retiring, I don't have to. It's true. Rapid City is a great employer, and they've been very good to me, good to my family, give me a chance to do something I really love. And you always sit there and say, what I'd really like to do in life is something that makes a difference, and I was given that chance, and the good Lord blessed me with that. And you wouldn't think garbage is all that great, but it is. I think, saving energy and all that kind of stuff has been a tremendous opportunity, not only to do that, but share with young people and get them fired up. I used to embarrass the dickens out of my kids by stopping and pulling over and getting an aluminum can out of the ditch. I bet Swanee did the same thing, didn't he? See here, another good friend, and I would say just thanks to the Swansons. And Swanee was a dear friend and a good inspiration to me also. But I'll shut up but it's been a privilege. Great ride. Congratulations.
Come out here and take a picture.
All right.
Come out here. Come on, Robert. Ready, Heidi? Very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jerry. Robert. Let's see, is Dan here? Wassenberger? Come on up, Dan. Robert, you went too far. It's a wonderful thing when we get to acknowledge long-term employees, 20 years plus employees, and this gentleman has been with us through the RTA, which is our Rapid Transit Authority, and I'm going to let Robert just say a few words about Dan.
Again, I've had the great pleasure of working with Dan here at Rapid Transit, another fine facility that we have, and I do know that a number of Dan's employees have expressed their compassion for him, the way that he leads and manages his team. I know that he's got a great group of people that really appreciate him being a part of our facility. So, Dan, congratulations on your years of service, and I enjoy working with you very much.
Congratulations, Dan. Please say a few words if you would.
Well, there are 4 people I'd like to thank right off the bat. I would like to thank Janie Hanna, Cindy McQuilkin, and Rich Sagan, which are fellow employees of mine. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Susan, that supported me. When I started with Rapid Transit, I started as a temporary and quit Black Hills Packing Company. And boy, it looked bleak for a while, but it all worked out. Thank you, Sue. And I'm very proud of being on the ground floor of modernizing the transportation system in Rapid City. It is growing, and it's just going to get bigger, and it's going to be fantastic. Thank you.
Dan, let's get a picture here. Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda is item number 3. Let me read this in real quick. This is the approval of a resolution to name the Rapid City Bike Path the Leonard Swanee Swanson Memorial Parkway. Could we have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion on that motion. I'm sure there's going to be a few council people who want to say a few words about this. And also, Becky, when we're done here, we'd like to have you say a few words, or anyone from your family. Let's go to Alderwoman Karen Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I was living in Rapid City in 1972 when the flood came. And our family was affected in lots of ways. My mother's home was flooded, my home was flooded, my husband's business was lost. And frankly, we were really looking at bankruptcy as a way of handling our finances for a period of time. I couldn't be more grateful for all of the things that Leonard Swansard did that moved the city to a position to be able to so generously help people who were in the same kind of financial situation I was in, or my family was in. That effort at organization saved countless members of this community and gave us a new outlook. And while the price was high, what has emerged is one of the most wonderful assets of our community, which is the Greenway. And it is a joy to know that Leonard will be eternally remembered via this wonderful name recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Nicely said. Any additional comments? Any additional comments? Let me just add my thanks also. As a 12-year-old going through the Rapid City flood in 1972, I remember the devastation. And it just absolutely amazes me the vision that a man can have coming through literally a disaster. I mean, one of the worst disasters in our country's history, quite honestly. And having the vision and the foresight to actually create something out of that disaster. Kieran, I think, said it exactly right. Because of his vision, because of his leadership, we have an asset like no other community in this country. We have an incredible park system, and I think it's only fitting that it bears his name, the person that really made this thing happen. And that, of course, is Swanee. Thank you for a little bit of latitude from the council. Any additional comments? Jerry, did you want to say a few words?
If I may, as a public works employee that knew Swanee well and had worked with him, for him, and I just want to say he was a wonderful man. And I came into the city in 1987. I just want to share a little part of his life that maybe Stella don't even know, but I know that Ella Kiefert was the secretary of the street department. I think she was there a long time. And she'd always comment how Swanee so personally was concerned about how well the city was, that he would carry a pick in the back of his pickup and a shovel in the back of his pickup, so if there's something he had to do, needed to do on the way home or whatever, he did. He had the respect of a lot of people. And I just want to speak for all the employees that worked with him, for him, around him. We thought the world of him. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Any additional comments? Becky, would any of your family like to get up and say a few words?
Yeah, my name is Steve Swanson. Becky said it was my turn this time, so. But I'd like to say thank you to all of you, people of Rapid City. I know Dad would consider it quite an honor, you know, to go through the Greenway. I know he really liked the Greenway. And I can't think of a nicer honor, you know, to name the path after him going through the Greenway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. The motion on the floor is for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone, and thank you. We're on to the general public comment period. This is the time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns with the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at tonight's meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by the unanimous vote of the council members present. Do we have any comments dealing with any item not on the agenda? I do have a couple speaker request forms, but they are on items on the agenda. Any items from the public? Seeing none, we will move on. We are on to the non-public hearing items, items 4 through 58, and the chair would look for a motion to open the public comment for items 1 through 47, please. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, Chair would look for a motion to close the public comment period for items 1 through 47. We have a motion and a second. Discussion on that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chair would ask if there are any items that need to be removed from the consent calendar. Please turn your light on. Any items to be removed from the consent calendar is item 4 through 47. Not, the chair would look for a motion to approve the consent calendars, item 4 through 47. We have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion on that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That takes us to the end of the consent calendar. We're on to the non-consent calendar, items 48 through 58. And the chair would look for a motion to open the public comment on items 48 through 58.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I thought I heard a second out there. We have a motion and a second to open the public comment period. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are into the public comment period. I do have a couple speaker request forms for item 49 and 50, just for the audience's information. We do have a recommendation to continue both items 49 and 50 to the September 2nd meeting. You're certainly welcome to get up and speak tonight, or if you want to wait till the 2nd, you certainly do that. First speaker request form I have is from Jake. Jake, how do you pronounce your last name? Berger. Very good. Did you want to speak tonight on this? This is going to be continued.
Oh, no.
It's certainly your option.
Yeah, well, just a couple things.
Okay. Just so you know, during this period, we do use our lights. We allow 3 minutes, so if you just keep an eye on the lights. And
Okay.
Mr. Berger.
Hi, my name is Jake Berger. I'm with Doug Hamilton's office, and we actually just, when you do go over this, we just like you to go ahead and turn it down. We currently own 3 plots of land in there, totally roughly 30 acres total, and we just really don't see a benefit to us, and we really even haven't been involved in the process. So that's all I had to say.
Very good. Thank you, Jake. And just so you know, the motion looks like it'll appear will be to continue this to the September 2nd City Council meeting, for your information. Mr. Phoenix, did you wish to speak? You have on here items 49, 50, and 54, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and the council. I just wanted to speak to the idea that I hope that the engineering department and the planning department within the Rapid City area has looked at outside the box on some of these things, because I think this TIF, so to speak, is going to go for a sewer system. And you may want to look outside, because there are a lot of packaged sewer systems that handle small areas of communities that you don't have to put in a large pipeline system to handle. So I've got some data here, and I'm sure that growth management knows all about it, and I'm sure that your engineering department has probably got a pretty good handle on it. But I'd like to have the council people talk to your engineering department and the growth management department and look into some of these other methods of waste disposal, especially the sewage. They can do a very good job. There's a lot, like I said, I've gone through Canada, I've gone through New Mexico, California, Oregon, 4 or 5 other states, asking them about some of these package units. And these package units are taking care of small outlying communities that aren't necessarily attached to the main sewer system in the city. So if you have your people look into this and give you some feedback, because I think there are other ways out there rather than developing. Because if you look at Catron, I think it's a very viable area for development. But if you look at 5th Street, what are you already into 6 years into that TIF, and you've only got a couple businesses out there? And with the economy the way it is in today's world, we may be hurting in the near future, though Rapid City is kind of isolated right now, but I think it's going to catch up with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phoenix. Do not have any additional speaker request forms, so the chair would look for a motion to close the public comment period on items 48 through 58. We have a motion and a second to close the public comment period. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're on to the non-consent items. Item number 48, and let's see, that is Legal and Finance. And Sam Quaker, the Chairman of Legal and Finance, could you please read that in, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 48 is first reading of ordinance number 5418, an ordinance amending 1706 of Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code requested by Bashi Engineering for OTS Land Company, Inc. for rezoning from General Agriculture District to Low Density Residential District located at 5930 Bent Drive. The recommendation is for approval, and that is my motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 49, please.
Item 49 is a request by Dream Design International, Inc. to consider an application for a creation of tax increment District Number 70, located, more generally described as being located Catron Boulevard from 5th Street to South Highway 16, then south along Highway 16 to Samus Trail and east to Highland Crossing subdivision. The recommendation is to continue to September 2 at applicant's request, and that is my motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue this to the September 2nd City Council meeting. Any discussion on the continuation motion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 50, please.
Item 50 is a request by Dream Design International, Inc. to consider an application for a project plan located Catron Boulevard from 5th Street to South Highway 16 and along US Highway 16 to Samus Trail and east to Highland Crossing subdivision. The recommendation is for continuation to September 2, and that is my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue item number 50 to the September 2nd City Council meeting. Discussion. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're on to the Public Works Committee items. Just a reminder, item 51 and 52 were actually removed from the consent calendar because they were duplicates, so that takes us to item number 53, and Mr. Kroger.
Item number 53 is request of placement of portable toilets at Cliffside Park. Steve McCarthy, Friends of the Parks. Move to deny.
We have a motion and second to deny. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion passes with one no from Alderman Sam Quaker. Oh, I'm sorry, did two? And also Bill Okrepke. Did I miss anybody else? Very good. Thank you, everyone. Item number 54, please.
Item number 54 is to approve a request by Hadcock Construction Incorporated to consider an exception to allow a cul-de-sac length of 6,765 feet in lieu of 500-foot maximum. Move approval.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion on that motion. Just a note on items both 54 and 55. Alderman Hadcock will be abstaining because I believe this is your husband's company. Is that correct? Yes. Very good. Thank you. Let's go to Alderman Sam Quaker.
Thank you, Mayor. I did not see a map linked, and I was just wondering if we could have a map put up and a brief explanation of this item. Thank you.
Marcia.
We do not provide maps with exceptions. We can do that in the future if that's something the council would like to see. This property is located to the west of Rapid City and involves extension of a existing development where one additional lot's being platted at the end of that area.
Alderman Quaker, you still have the floor, sir.
I would just like to understand the process here. There was a denial letter issued by city engineering. I also see a letter of concern, it appears, from the fire department. And I'm just wondering, it appears now that there is a recommendation for approval, and I'm just wondering if I could have an explanation of the process of what occurred here.
Marcia Elkins.
Thank you. This was denied at the staff level, and during the appeal process where it comes forward to the city council, staff did have further discussions. In fact, Mr. Billings from the fire department was involved in those discussions. I believe, in fact, that the engineer on the project changed from Roy Boucher to Fisk Land Surveying, and there was some additional actual inspections of the site, and through the recommendations on 54 and 55, 55 is recommended for approval with stipulations. the fire department was comfortable after they reviewed the site and determined the difference in the fire hazards in the different areas. So Mr. Billings was involved in that, and the revised recommendations came forward with their concurrence.
Okay, Alderman Quaker, you still have the floor, sir.
I'm just, I'm surprised because this is a bit of an unusual request, and if putting it in terms of, for example, a 40-unit rule, this would be in essence approving 400 units, and this is a 10 times the normal length in terms of a cul-de-sac, and there is information on the record that indicates there were public safety concerns, and now it appears that there aren't, and I just want to make sure that there are no public safety concerns at this point in doing this, and I am a bit surprised that the opinion internally had changed, and I guess I'm trying to understand why that is. Could I have an explanation from the fire department on this, and do they feel comfortable with the current recommendation, knowing that this is a significant change from departure from past practice and policy?
Chief Rolfing, you understand the question. The question is the fire department comfortable with the recommendation? And I think there might have been a second part there. If we miss it, we'll go back to Alderman Quaker.
Okay. I would say I would probably have to look into it. I can't speak to it tonight, but I could certainly take it to my guys and take a look exactly where this is and what our thoughts would be.
Alderman Quaker?
I would feel comfortable in having more information on this, especially after reading Captain Bailing's memo, which appears to raise some concern, and I just want to make sure that the city is making the correct decision on this item. So I'll yield to further discussion, but if there is no further discussion, I'd like to probably offer a motion to continue so that our fire chief can render a formal recommendation.
Let me go to a couple more lights and then we'll come back. Let's see. Let's go to Alderman Bill Okrepke, and then Marcia, did you have something for us? Okay. Alderman Bill Okrepke.
I can yield to Marcia if you.
Okay, very good. Marcia Elkins, Growth Management.
I do have the subdivision variance file, which is a subsequent item on the agenda, and I wanted to show you the aerial photograph of this. This photograph shows the major road locations in the area. It would not show all the local roads, but I think one of the key components, as I understood it in visiting with Mr. Billings, was the concern about portions of this being in the high wildfire hazard area, but also areas of it are large open areas, and as such, there's a distinction made in the recommendation, particularly on the next item, where they wanted to see intermediate turnarounds provided, and they worked out with the engineer various locations where those could be provided using turnarounds and driveways. And so the related recommendations do affect that. So just trying to provide you with an aerial or a map that would help explain the situation.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Any further discussion? Motion on the floor is for approval. Let's go to Alderman Bill Okrepke.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Before you take that down, Marcia, this street, it is going to be a street, correct?
Marcia.
It would appear to be more like a long gravel driveway in large parts. And again, there's just one additional lot being platted off at this point in time, a 10-acre parcel that's being proposed for development at this point.
Can you show it, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, please.
This is the parcel here.
And where's the street or the road that it's tying into?
This is the related plat map that's coming forward. And again, it shows the access which is being developed across the property at this location to provide access to the 10-acre parcel.
See, Marcia, put the aerial back up, if you would, please. And could you point the road out? I believe I can see the road heading to the top of the picture there.
I believe that it's coming, north is upside down on us. Let's run that around. There we go.
I'm sure now you confused us all.
Now I understand.
Now I understand. This is the road that's coming in here and will be provided with an access approximately at this location.
Okay, Mr. Okrepke, you still have
Thank
the
you.
floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So this, we don't have to worry about making sure this, the streets put in and there's curb and gutters and those kinds of things. There won't be any possibility of any other development there. I know that's a 10-acre lot, but will that affect the future and those kinds of things?
Marcia?
There is a related subdivision variance application that is on later on the agenda, and those issues are addressed through that. I believe the Planning Commission has recommended approval of the variances primarily because it's one large 10-acre parcel. That is a separate issue.
Mr. Okrepke, anything else?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, very good. Further discussion, motion on the floor is for approval. Just for procedure here, does anyone wish to speak before Alderman Quaker speaks for a second time? If not, we will go to Alderman Sam Quaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Marcia, is there there's just one site involved in this subdivision? Just one home?
Marcia?
There's just one additional lot being created. The balance of this will exceed the 40 acres allowed, so it will be a transferable balance, but the existing parcel will be split to allow this one 10-acre tract and the balance. So there's one net increase in the number of dwelling units in this area.
How many dwelling units are out there now?
I can't answer that off the top of my head. I can check the file and see if it's addressed in the staff report on the related item.
Scott,
Okay.
can you just give us a finger count? How many are out there? Three.
Three.
Okay, very good.
So, Mayor, if I could
Yes.
ask a follow-up?
Yes, go
Marcia?
ahead. Alderman Quaker.
Okay. In pulling up the letter, and this is one of the reasons why I thought it would perhaps be appropriate to continue this to get an official opinion from our fire department. But noting that this is an area that was apparently devastated by the Westbury Trails fire in 1988, and the letter from Mr. Bailings indicates that there are hazards to this, and it appears that there are some real concerns here, and I guess I would just like to have an official opinion from our fire department before we proceed in allowing a variance of this magnitude in an area that was devastated by fire once before. So I do think that a motion to continue is appropriate since we do not have an official opinion available from our fire chief tonight. So I'm going to offer a motion to continue item 54.
Okay, we have a motion, substitute motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion on that motion. And just keep in mind, we'll be talking only about the continuation motion. Marcia Elkins.
I just share with the council that when this crossed my desk before it appeared on the committee agenda, I had the same concerns that have been expressed. It's an extremely long cul-de-sac, and so I did personally contact the fire department and visit with Mr. Billings and Mr. Knight because of those concerns. And again, they shared with me that after being on the site, looking at the specifics of the situation, they were comfortable with it and were recommending approval of it.
Okay, very good. Substitute motion on the floor is continue. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Let's take a roll call, please.
Quaker,
Aye.
Olson,
No.
Kroger,
No.
Hurlbut,
No.
Adcock, abstaining, LaCroy,
No.
Martinson, Wyffenbach, Okrepke,
No.
Chapman,
No.
Motion fails. We're back to the original motion. Motion on the floor is for approval. Any further discussion on that motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes with one no from Alderman Quaker. Is that correct? Anyone else? A no? Okay, very good. And make sure the record acknowledges that Alderman Hadcock abstained from voting. Item 55, please.
Item number 55 is to approve with stipulations a request by Hadcock Construction Incorporated to consider an exception to waive the requirement for an intermediate turnarounds along cul-de-sac every 600 feet located on Lot B of DeWald subdivision. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion on that motion. Any discussion? Let's go to Alderman Sam Quaker.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to express my concern as to what is, in this case, a very unusual process where the internal recommendation and the internal ruling had been denial, and then something changed internally, and the internal ruling became a recommendation for approval. And I find that to be puzzling, and I'm simply trying to understand what caused and precipitated a change in staff opinion. And I still haven't seen that information. Thank you.
Did you have a question for staff, Sam? If
Whoever
not-
can answer it, if it's possible to have an answer to that question.
Okay. Marcia, let's go to Marcia Elkins.
I believe that the change, as I understand it, was that in working with the fire department, the engineer identified intermediate turnarounds that could be provided where the fire department staff felt it was appropriate. And again, that's the reason for the stipulation of approval, which requires that those be provided on the first 4,000 feet. And again, those are pullouts to be provided to allow that emergency turnaround to occur. And that's based on the wildfire classification of the property, which changes as you travel this long road.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Alderman Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mayor. I respect what Sam's concerns are, but I just from listening to what Marcia had to say, that the initial, when they look through the paperwork and don't actually do a site visit, I think it's easy to get the denial, but from the sounds of it, they actually went out there with their concerns and looked at the property, and from the picture that we've seen, that big of an area, I'm okay with this, and I can see where staff would change their minds also, so I'll be supporting the motion on the floor.
Thank you. Let's go to Alderwoman Karen Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question would be, in some of the material supporting discussing this item, there is a reference to the requirement to install a sprinkler system. Is that a part of what will be a part of this building as it moves forward?
Let's go to Marcia Elkins, Growth Management.
The letter from Mr. Billings that is attached to this item references the fact that the fire department would strongly recommend the installation of the sprinkler system. However, because this is outside of 1 mile around the city of Rapid City, our fire code does not apply in this area, and as such, they are not making it a requirement. That is the July 21st letter to Mr. Hadcock from Mr. Billings that's linked online. So it is a recommendation, but not a requirement because it's outside of our jurisdiction.
Okay, Karen, you still have the floor, ma'am. Okay, let's go to Alderman Bob Hurlbut.
Thank you, Mayor. I, at first blush, had concern here as well. This is over a mile-long cul-de-sac, which initially, given a staff report against it and no official word from the fire chief, I had concern, although in listening to Marcia, I think I'm comfortable in knowing that she has had the conversations with others at the fire department. And I think similar to what Alderman LaCroix said, this is something that certainly we can live with. It is just a net of one additional parcel along that lengthy cul-de-sac. So that's where I am coming from on this, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor is for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, was that approval with stipulations? Okay, approval with stipulations. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion passes with Alderman Quaker being a no vote and Alderman Hadcock abstaining. Item number 56, and bids. Pauline?
Thank you, Mayor Hanks. If you were to pull up your link to the bid summary, this has been a continued item. The advertising authority was for $30,000 for a current year 11-foot high capacity mower for the Parks Division. The bid was actually opened on July 30th of 2008. The low bid was with Midwest Turf and Irrigation in the amount of $44,053. Midwest Turf and Irrigation also gave a second bid in the amount of $46,910. RDO Equipment was $44,482.49, and Turf Works was $59,000, but they were disallowed because they did not submit a bid bond. It is the recommendation of the Parks Department to actually award the bid to RDO Equipment in the amount of $44,482.49, as the low bid did not meet specifications. That's number 3, right?
Okay, let's.
Excuse me, I apologize.
I was going to say, let's go to Jerry Cole. I don't think that meant a peace sign, so. Mr. Cole, what's your recommendation?
Well, our recommendation is number 2. The low bid was $44,053 in the mower deck.
Why don't we do this? Let's get a motion on the floor, and then we'll come back right back to you. Can we have a motion for discussion, please?
I'd move to approve item number 2, Midwest Turf Irrigation, $46,910.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on the floor to accept the bid from Midwest Turf and Irrigation for $46,910. With that, Mr. Cole.
What would you, okay, yeah, the low bid did not meet specifications because the mower deck was not correct.
Okay, very good. Further discussion, let's go to Jason Green, our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just so that the motion is clear in the record, the motion is to award to the low bidder meeting specifications as stated by the alderman making the motion. Is that the intent?
I'm
Thank
sure I
you.
heard that from Alderman LaCroix, yes. Okay.
That's brilliant, Mike.
Any further discussion? Let's go to Alderman Malcolm Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the advertising authority and the actual bid price that's being awarded, I mean, there's some sort of difference there. Did we just not get it right? And then my second question would be in regard to, can you multiple bid these? I mean, can you put in multiple proposals? I mean, it seems as if Midwest Turf and Irrigation put in 2 proposals. So is that standard or normal?
Mr. Cole, first question is why so far over the advertising authority of $30,000 dealing with the trade-in?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The advertising authority was $30,000 with the intent that thought that one of our mowers were going to be traded in. Talking to our mechanics and the reps, we found out that the mower at this point is still good and we can still utilize that mower for 2 years. So we withdrew the trade before we put that, but the advertising authority stayed the same, and that was our mistake rather than increasing that. So.
Okay. Second question was, Midwest Turf and Irrigation actually has 2 bids in, and I assume that the reason is the bids were different specs. Is that? Okay.
That is correct.
Alderman Chapman, you still have the floor, sir. If not, we go to Alderman Ron Kroger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not understanding this. If I heard this right, Midwest Turf, number 1 was low bid, but they did not meet specs. The motion on the floor is to approve Midwest Turf number 2 for $46,000. What happened to RDO Equipment for $44,000, which would be the next low bid?
Mr. Cole.
That's my mistake. I don't have that. I'm sorry, Pauline. You are correct. I was going by the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 because I don't have that up on. I don't have a computer.
Okay, Mr.
Mayor,
Kroger, do you have a substitute motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve number 3 RDO Equipment for $44,482.49.
Okay, we have a substitute motion and a second to award the bid to RDO Equipment for $44,482.49, which is the lowest bid meeting specs. Discussion on that motion. Let's go to Alderwoman Karen Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question for Mr. Cole would be, are those additional dollars in your budget so that you can pay for this?
Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, they are. We purchased a front-end loader earlier this year and had a budget authority higher than the bids came in. And with the savings on the front-end loader, we can pay for the excess on this.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Let's go to, there again, a point of procedure. Anyone wish to speak before Alderman Chapman speaks for a second time? Please turn on your light. If not, we'll go to Alderman Malcolm Chapman.
I'm sure it was said, but I just wanted to hear it again. RDO equipment at $44,482, $849 meets the specs. I couldn't hear you.
Yes, they do.
Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Chapman, anything else? Very good. Motion on the floor is a substitute motion to accept item, basically number 3, which is RDO equipment for $44,482.49, which is the lowest bid received that meets specifications. Any further discussion on that motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Boy, that's the hardest we had to work on a bid in a long time. Okay, we are on to, let's see, appeals. We have item number 57. Let's see, I believe that's Alderman Quaker. Could you read that in, please?
Item 57 is a notice of appeal from the requirements of the Rapid City Sign Ordinance, Chapter 15.28 by Cabela's Retail, Inc. for wall signs, joint identification sign, and ground monument sign on Lot 3 of Forefathers Flats subdivision located at 3231 East Mall Drive, continued starting 11/5/07. The recommendation is to continue again to November 17 at applicant's request, and that is my motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to continue this item to November 17th. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 58, please.
Item number, excuse me. Item 58 is a notice of appeal from the requirements of the Rapid City Sign Ordinance, Chapter 15.28 by Rapid Center LLC for joint identification sign located on Lot 3. I'm assuming it's the same address, 3231 East Mall Drive. This has also been continued since November 5/07. The recommendation is to continue to November 17, and that is my motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to continue item number 58 to the November 17th meeting. Any discussion on that motion? Let's go to, Gary, there again, just a reminder, the motion is for continuation. If we could limit the discussion to that, please. Let's go to Alderman Karen Olson.
In my memory, and I'd certainly open that to correction if it's not so, it seems to me that all of the continuations of this item have always been at the applicant's request.
Marcia, can you answer that?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Alderman Bill Okrepke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Since it's been continued these many times, are they close to coming to a conclusion?
Marcia?
Yes, their memo indicated to me when they contacted us earlier in the week that they are installing the one project sign, which is a 45-foot sign, which complies with our requirement. They'd like to have that installed so that when the request comes forward for the 70-foot high sign, the public and the council will have a better idea of the height of that and how it sits on the property. They believe some of the topographic issues on the site make it important to have the higher sign at the western end of the site. So they're hoping to have that work done so that you can visualize it a little better and consider that when it comes forward.
Okay, Alderman Okrepke, you still have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The only reason why I brought it up, if they're not close, then why don't we just table it until they're ready? But if they're close, then I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you. Motion on the floor is to continue this item to the November 17th meeting. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're on to the public hearing items, items 59 through 92. The chair will look for a motion to open the public comment period on items 59 through 92, please. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I do not have any speaker request forms on items 59, through 92. So let's move on to the continued public hearing consent items, item number 59 through 80, and the chair would ask if any of these items 59 through 80 need to be pulled from the consent calendar. Nothing? How about from the council? If so, please turn on your light. If not, the chair would look for a motion to approve the continued public hearing consent items, items 59 through 80 per the recommendation on the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That takes us to the end of the continued public hearing consent items. Chair would look for a motion to close the public hearing comment period for items 59 through 92, please.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing for items 59 through 92. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are on to the consent public hearing items. This is items 81 through 86. Chair would ask if any items 81 through 86 needs to be pulled from the consent calendar. If so, please turn on your light. Anything need to be pulled? Items 81 through 86. If not, the chair would look for a motion to approve the consent public hearing items, items 81 through 86.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That does take us to the end of the consent public hearing calendar. We're now on to the non-consent public hearing items, items 87 through 92. And let's see here, item number 87, and I believe, is that Mr. Kroger? I believe you read that in.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 87 is the Rapid City Regional Airport Master Plan. A request to approve a request by the City of Rapid City to consider an application for an amendment to the adopted comprehensive plan to incorporate the City of Rapid City Regional Airport Master Plan update. I would move to continue this to September 2nd.
We have a motion and a second to continue this item to September 2nd. Let's go to Jason Greener, City Attorney. Is that the appropriate motion? Okay, very good. Any discussion on the continuation motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, let's go to Alderman Bill Okrepke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and appreciate the latitude. Would we be able to get a short briefing when it comes back for approval?
Absolutely.
It would be good for us, the city council, as well as everybody else, to understand the dynamics around the airport.
Very good. Thank you for those comments. Motion on the floor is to continue this item to the September 2nd City Council meeting. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 88, please.
88 is a request by G/GSA Incorporated for an amendment to the adopted comprehensive plan to change the land use designation from industrial to general commercial located at 4507 South Interstate 90 Service Road. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion on that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 89, please.
Item number 89 is to authorize the mayor and finance officer to sign the waiver of right to protest a future assessment for the installation of curb gutter, sidewalk, and streetlight conduit along Interstate 90 frontage road and the installation of curb gutter and streetlight conduit along Elkville Road as they abut Lot 1 of Atlanta subdivision located at 1314 North Elkville Road. Move approval.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion on that motion. Let's go to Alderwoman Karen Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question just is in waiving, are we still going to provide appropriate sidewalk, pedestrian access in this area?
Let's go to Marcia Elkins, Growth Management.
My understanding is that the waiving of the sidewalks primarily addresses the access on Elkville Road, and that's a state highway, and as such, the recommendation was for it to be waived at that location along the western end of the property.
Okay. Karen, you still have the floor, ma'am.
Well, I just have some ongoing concerns. There are certainly some areas surrounding the mall where it's pretty clear that there's pedestrian traffic and no sidewalks, and I would certainly hope that as this moves forward, we will realize that in the not too distant future there will be people walking, and that we be vigilant in terms of this particular issue.
Thank you. Let's go to Marcia Elkins,
Can I
Growth
just
Management.
add two quick comments? One, there is a waiver of right to protest so that it could be assessed in the future. And two, when we were out there today, through the work with the Department of Transportation, they did construct a sidewalk along the west side of that interchange, which really is nice. It kind of pulls away from the roadway. They've put in the handicap ramps, and again, on the western side of that interchange, it really is comfortable for the pedestrians to try to cross there. So I just draw your attention as a council to the work that was done. DOT had agreed to that request and made some changes late in the process to make that happen. So we appreciate their efforts.
Thank you. Motion on the floor is for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 90, please.
Item number 90, a request by Fiskland Surveying Consulting Engineers Incorporated for Paul Bradsky of Atlantis LLC for a variance to subdivision regulations to waive the requirement to install curb gutter, sidewalk, and streetlight conduit along Elkville Road and I-90 Frontage Road to reduce the width of the access easement from 59 foot to 26 feet and to waive the requirement to install curb gutter, sidewalk, streetlight conduit, water, and sewer along the access easement as per Chapter 16.16 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I would move to deny in part and approve in part with stipulations in accordance with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny in part and approve in part with stipulations in accordance with the Planning Commission's recommendation. Discussion on that motion. Any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 91, please.
Item number 91 is a request by Hadcock Construction Incorporated for L&L and Leah J. DeWalt for variance to the subdivision regulations to waive the requirement to install pavement, curb, gutter, sidewalk, streetlight conduit, water, and sewer as per Chapter 16 of the Rapid City Municipal Code located at 6790 Nameless Cave Road. Move approval with stipulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval stipulations. Discussion on that motion. Let's go to Alderman Sam Quaker.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Marcia Elkins. My question, Marcia, is relating to the allowance of, and I understand the distance involved, so that it probably makes sense to look at septic, but allowing an on-site septic system, was there not a new set of rules that went into place regarding new septic systems, and does that apply or have an impact on this particular situation?
Let's go to Marcia Elkins, Growth Management.
Yes, the rules that were adopted about a year and a half ago do apply to this project, but primarily that will address the fact that those systems will need to be inspected, typically on a 3-year basis for residents. I think that's primarily where the change comes into effect. The other standards were just adopted that had previously been in place via the state.
So new systems are allowed, it's just a matter of the inspection of those systems.
Marcia?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Very good. Motion on the floor is approval stipulations. And just note, Alderman Hadcock will be abstaining from this as this is her husband's construction company. Motion on the floor is for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes with one abstention from Deb Hadcock. Item 92, please.
Mayor, I'll turn this over to Alderman Quaker.
Oh, I'm
as,
sorry.
Legal and Finance.
Alderman Quaker, item number 92, please. I was
Thank you,
on a
Mayor.
roll.
Item 92 is second reading of ordinance 5415, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the municipal code for rezoning within the described property located at 4507 South Interstate 90 Service Road, and the request is by GSA Inc., and the recommendation is for approval with stipulations, and that is my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval stipulations. Discussion on that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're on to the bill list. Ms. Pauline.
Thank you, Mayor Hanks. You have the bill list before you in the amount of $5,400,612.77. We do have an addition of a claim to First National Bank in Sioux Falls in the amount of $1,064,455.89. That is to defease the 2003 parking bonds that we have. We have to defease those before we can finish the other ones that we have authorized. That brings the grand total of the bills to $6,465,068.66.
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the bill list totaling, check me on this, Pauline, $6,465,068.66. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Well, let's go to executive session. Mr. Green, do you have anything for us?
Not tonight.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is this a record? All All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
We haven't stayed long enough.
Yeah. Thank you. We're adjourned.